episode 10, and this is a special one. Welcome to GTMN. We actually have a guest today. This is our first guest show. Brendan from The Signal. Brendan, what's the URL? Is it thesignal.com? Is that?
I
did
wish.
you get
I wish
that?
one day. Thesignal.club. Join the
Signal.club.
club,
An
baby.
expensive domain.
Join the
So
club.
expensive.
We wanted to get gtmn.com,
Yeah.
but then that was not available, obviously. And we got the .fm, and I was like, wait, that's actually kind of cool.
That's a
so
good one.
great.
That's a good one.
I mean,
Austin
technically
and I
every
were-
domain is available for the right price.
That is true. That is true. Very true. Well, we made it to episode 10. This is going to be fun. We have a shit ton to cover today. So we're going to start with a couple of items, and then Brendan will come to you in a couple of minutes, or maybe a few minutes, about the event that you just hosted. So that's going to be fun, the AI GTM Summit. We're going to cover sort of what you learned from that. But big breaking news from yesterday, TikTok is officially done. So they are selling their U.S. entity to a joint venture controlled by American investors. The TikTok CEO said this. This joint venture will operate as an independent entity with authority over U.S. data protection, algorithm security, content moderation, and software assurance. This is apparently in a memo that has been seen by Reuters. They reported on this. So it seems like they're keeping the algorithm, but there's something about the algorithm security that would be sort of, overseen by the U.S. entity. So the how long has this been going on for? Like 4 years?
I'm so pessimistic. I think this is just a way for a handful of investors to get really rich.
I mean, that is not, that is not the most crazy take, to be honest, with just how modern politics and tech works, right? Like, I was having this conversation with, really shouldn't talk about politics on this one, but like, I was having a conversation with my co-founder, and we're like, yeah, it's kind of weird that all the tech CEOs end up going to, shake hands and give gifts to all of these politicians, no matter who's in power. And that's kind of what happened here, maybe, but, hey, we know that TikTok's not going away. That's an interesting, piece of news.
I think it was never going away. It was all about projecting, confidence and control, which now the US has done. But you have to ask realistically, how much is the product going to change and how much oversight are they really going to have? Now, I guess this gives the veneer of, hey, a US policymaker can request US investors for information. Are they going to? I don't know. Like it's so far deviated from like the original intent was like this app is destroying people's brains and it's a security risk. And I think they just kind of accepted like, well, it's probably not that much of a security risk. So now let's try to make some money off this thing.
Yeah, good point. Do you think they're gonna have like separate, like you're gonna have TikTok.us and TikTok.com. Whatever for everywhere else? You'll have two different ad managers. You'll have two different like. I'm so intrigued by how complicated life is going to become for people who are advertising on TikTok, especially multinationals.
I mean, this is what I'm like.
Oh.
I'm so skeptical they'll do that, Pranav. I bet they'll just like keep it as one, except now you can request, freedom of information against the US company, maybe, or like.
Oh, interesting. Well, we'll find out in a few months. Brendan, what's your take? Do you use TikTok, Brendan?
I do not use TikTok. I'm too scared.
That's shocking.
I'm too scared. I won't be able to put it down probably. I know I deleted Instagram many years ago. I delete X like every other week. I try not to spend too much time on them. But no, I've never had TikTok.
That, by the way. I love that. I love that you hate X because I also hate X, and I feel like I get so much shit from people for not being on X. I'm like, this is just like a brain rot pool. Why are we? Why am I feeling bad about not being on here?
I actually love X too much is the problem. I find myself just being like, oh, I just spent 45 minutes learning about like the difference between the latest AI models and like that. I probably don't actually need to go that deep.
You know what's interesting? Google and Gemini have been just taking over X. Like these guys are operating like startups right now where the PMs and like whoever's working on all the Gemini stuff is like constantly asking for feedback, like very similar to what OpenAI does or what Claude, the Anthropic team does. It's like really cool to kind of see a 25-year-old, 30-year-old company, operate that way. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy about like founder brand. I was like, I think like founder brand, and go to market, it's like, you should do founder brand. It works. Like if your audience is on LinkedIn, you should be posting on LinkedIn. I don't know like how much it scales once you get to like whatever, ramp size or whatever, or OpenAI. And I was like, wait a second. Actually, Sam is doing founder brand on X
Yeah.
for sure. Like
Yeah.
I see the ramp guys speaking directly to their audience. Like I think it does scale. And I think people are starting to realize that. Google, you see, people coming on TBPN or whatever, and it's like, oh wait, yeah, these founders want to be talking directly to their audience. They just kind of haven't been, and they didn't realize the power. And now I think people are waking up to that, and they're like, oh wait, this has to be part of our playbook if we want to actually win in this era. So yeah, it is interesting to see. But there's not any good go-to-market stuff on X for me anyway.
It's not just founders either, though. I really think like we're entering this age where creativity and authentic voice is actually like a superpower. And so if you think about like a company as big as Google, a PM or like a director of product there, they might be overseeing a company bigger than almost 90% of startups. So that's why like the language that I often use these days is around operators, because like you don't have to be a founder to have all this apply to you. And, just from even the short, quarter of experience I've had being out of startup land again and back in big company land, it's very obvious to me that if you have a social presence and you kind of project what you're working on, it's really, really powerful. And I think bigger companies, especially Fortune 500s, are like looking at leaders this way more and more.
Okay, we're going to get straight into some interesting news that has happened this week. Lots of acquisitions in the B2B world. So actually, both B2B and B2C. So we'll start with this one. Salesforce acquired Qualified. So this was apparently, I actually don't know how much it was for, but Qualified had raised something like $163 million. For people who don't know what Qualified is, their core product was Piper, an AI SDR agent. And so it kind of makes sense that Salesforce is kind of stepping into that game and figuring out how to automate sort of funnel tasks like engaging visitors on your site and intent signals. We're still calling them intent signals. Booking meetings with your sales team, so on and so forth. So a big outcome, and it has some interesting implications for all the other startups. I saw Amanda Callow, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, the former founder of Sixth Sense, who now does OneMind. I don't know if you all have seen this. Which is like basically a direct competitor to this AI SDR agent thingy. But I'm curious what you all think about this. Like, any inside scoops on Qualified? I know, Brendan, you're pretty close to this whole world. So what do you think about this acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was rumored at like $1 billion. I don't know that the number is out, but I think it's and
gotta be enough to be worth it,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it was the 10th. I could be wrong about this, but if I recall correctly, I think it's the 10th acquisition from Salesforce this year. A bunch of like small acquisitions, which I thought they like got rid of their M&A team a few years ago, but obviously not. Anyway, maybe it was Salesforce Ventures they wound down. I think what it says is like Salesforce, two things. This has always been Salesforce's playbook is to acquire companies and figure out how to like package them. So I don't think that's anything new. What I do think is like it shows that Benioff is like really taking AI seriously, and like if he doesn't have a bet, he has to go find somebody to bring in and have be part of their AI strategy for kind of the different jobs to be done across sales and marketing. So I think it's pretty interesting. Qualified has been around a long time. I generally am like pretty AI pilled at this point, so I'll preface with that. It's like I think if you're not building, if you haven't started in the last few years, it's pretty hard to argue that you're like actually AI native. And so like, I don't know Qualified's product. I'm sure it's great. They have, I think, a good amount of revenue. So it's like a real product, obviously, but is it going to be like the cutting edge thing in 2 years or 5 years? I don't think so.
No.
And so, yeah, I think it's more just like, okay, this is like a standard kind of consolidation phase. And then the like truly AI native companies that have been built in the last started in the last 24 months are going to pop up and these are going to be like the 10x unlocks in these certain categories. Like OneMind, for instance, or Delphi, it's like, do I need like some like routing tool on my website to get to the right AE? Or do I want to just talk to the CEO for 20 minutes before I decide if I want to like see a demo or start a trial? Agree. Like you're going to train on all the documentation the best practices from the CEO or the founder, and like that feels like a really nice way to do a discovery call if I'm a buyer. So I think there's going to be these like completely different tools that are not like an AI feature peppered on it. It's like this is just a totally different paradigm, and I think those are going to be like the really interesting ones to watch.
Love what you said there about the talk directly to the CEO. I'm envisioning something very similar for our website. And we're talking to a startup that's kind of like doing something like that, where they essentially take your entire content and then just create a virtual, way of talking to people on your site. Probably very similar to OneMind, but not in this like, there's no like human being. It is actually just an actual sort of chat experience. So we'll see. This is really good.
Like Super Me, honestly, just like a commoditized version of
just like
Me.
Super Me. That's exactly right. We talked about that a few episodes ago. I think that's exactly right for like a B2B sales use case. Okay, go ahead, Austin.
Real quick,
Yeah.
Pranav, the thing on Qualified for people who haven't used Qualified, is actually a great product. We implemented it at Ramp, and the thing I remember distinctly is, so we actually replaced Intercom with Qualified because Intercom didn't at the time have an SDK that could produce or emit marketing events. So like imagine you want to track when a conversation starts and when a message is threaded and when they respond, so you can actually map the conversion funnel in a tool like Amplitude. You couldn't do that with Intercom because Intercom has this, at least at the time, I'm not speaking for them now. At the time they had this object called a conversation, which had all the messages in it, but you actually need like an event, like the widget opened and the chat started and I sent a message and the customer received a message. So you need that linear message thread. So that was one of the reasons we switched to Qualified. The second was this idea of pouncing, which was to say like, hey, there's a lot of times where there's a high intent buyer from our demographic that has all the signals we care about. And we just like need an alert system. We just like need to tell our reps when this person is on the site to help nudge them along. And that was the core use case. The thing that was so distinct about Qualified that I remember though, is that they were a Salesforce shop. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm like really not surprised at all by the acquisition, because literally back then, their only integration was with Salesforce. And I'm thinking about this now with the news about Coffee, the CRM company, and they had some investment from HubSpot. I think some of the most savvy operators out there take investment and lean in hard to one of these channels, HubSpot or Salesforce, because it is an exit strategy. This is talked about pretty often in the book Plan, Having a Plan B. Having a plan B means saying, we're going to try to build this new status quo for a product, but like lean into one of the major buyers so that when you reach a healthy revenue margin, you have an off ramp. And Eric Sikala, the CEO of Qualified, like he didn't say this to me, but I could definitely get that sense from some of our conversations that they were a heavy Salesforce shop and most of their top customers came from Salesforce partnerships. So like, this is not surprising at all to me.
I also heard a lot of their staff was ex-Salesforce, at least in the leadership role. So it all makes sense. Very cool.
Salesforce
All right,
was an investor.
Oh,
Salesforce
there we go.
Ventures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So closing the loop there. All right, here's another interesting one. I don't know if I'm sure you have seen this one. So Cvent, this event tech company, acquired Goldcast for apparently, these are just rumors, that $300 million in cash. And they only raised about 40 million. So great outcome. So congrats to Palash and team for making this happen. Kishore. Pretty cool. Although I do imagine that all the other companies in this video event space are going to be pretty excited about not having to compete with Goldcast for a bit.
Totally. Well, also, Pranav, I love what you said, which is like 300 million cash, which is basically a little less than 8x. Who knows what their EBITDA was, but like most often in private equity, a deal size of 6 to 8 EBITDA is like a great outcome. And we're so used to having companies want to achieve like the 100x outcome, but there's nothing wrong with a nice like 5 to 10x outcome.
Heck no. Hey, this is great.
If you haven't raised too much money.
Yes. If you haven't raised too much money, of course, right? Which is like 40 million raised for a 300 million, exit. Hey, it's a great outcome for the founding team and probably also a bunch of employees, right? Hopefully they had a good program there. Another one that happened this week, or at least got announced, is Pinterest acquiring TV Scientific. This might not be in your radars, but this is more on the B2C side. So TV Scientific is a CTV, connected TV platform. So you can use TV Scientific to buy ads on, any type of connected TV channels. And Pinterest getting into that game. And the goal here is that if you are a Pinterest advertiser, you already have access to sort of, search-based ads on Pinterest. You have access to interest-based ads, like social ads type of thing. And then now you have the ability to take the Pinterest data and pipe that into, CTV. So you're kind of getting full coverage, search, social, and TV through one platform on Pinterest. And, for a certain type of audience, it makes a ton of sense. So we're seeing this consolidation, right? Like Google has search and YouTube, right? And Facebook obviously has lots and lots of inventory in different ways. But it's like bringing different modalities together for advertising seems like a trend. And I thought it was a very smart acquisition.
Yeah. No, I mean, this would never happen because HGTV is owned by Warner Bros. But I'm like, the real play would be like, can you get Food Network or HGTV into Pinterest? Because then now you have like complete ownership of, like, I don't know. I know people use Pinterest for a lot of stuff, but like when I think of Pinterest, I actually think a lot about like home design, and often like food and parties and like random things where I need to feel better about my lack of design sense. So the ads part is interesting, but I actually feel like a TV network would make a lot more sense. And you'd mentioned like this isn't Pinterest TV, but like, wow, that would be a cool idea if they entertained it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Somebody in the strategy team is listening to this. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, let's switch into Brendan, the event that you just did. So you held the AI GTM summit, and then we're going to come back, Austin, to the special chat we had over Slack.
Oh yeah, this is big news. Brendan's event, which
Brendan's event.
I wanted to go to so badly, but I was on an airplane and it did not load.
We had
Austin,
somebody that called
London,
in on
right?
the airport. From an airplane. That was impressive.
That would have been awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you held this event. This is the first time. Tell us about it and tell us how it went. What did you learn?
Yeah.
What were the key things that are coming out of, all the research and work that you put into it?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for letting me share. I think it's interesting. One of the things that was kind of the point of the event, and I'm like trying to do some more content. I think it's like fun and interesting. And so I'm like, okay, let me try to do like an event. And, the obvious thing in my mind is like, okay, this year, at least for me, in my little B2B SaaS world, I'll say, like AI is the thing that everybody's talking about, trying to figure out how to use. And I would say for me, there are a handful of use cases where AI is definitely proven to be like very helpful for go-to-market. And when I say go-to-market, it's like not just pipe gen, although that's part of it. It's also like some marketing use cases, some sales use cases, some post-sales use cases, like the full sales cycle or buyer cycle. And so the idea with the event was like, okay, let me just see like if I can just present. Here's 6 ways that you can use AI that are working. And I just wanted to find 6 really smart people to present on those topics. And then I'd say like this is like sort of something I knew going into it, but I really felt it during the event. And by the way, the event, I was like hoping 200, 250 people would register. There was over 600 people that registered, which was awesome.
Wow.
And over 300 people that attended live, which was cool. And the average attendee spent 85 minutes on it, which I thought was pretty cool. It was just over 3 hours long, the event. So that also tells me like, thank you.
Trying something new.
I think it also just speaks to like the fact that there's like insane appetite for this stuff, right? And
that's exactly what I was going to say. Listen, like getting 300 people to a live event the first time you're doing it is bonkers. So
these were really impressive people too. These are like it was like every logo I could want on like, again, at least in my little world of B2B SaaS, it's like there was someone there and it was like a lead. It's not like, no offense, but it wasn't like SDRs and AEs. It was like, these were go-to-market leaders that are like coming in to be like, what does my team need to be doing like this quarter to actually hit our number, and how like what are use cases for us to use AI?
So what do you think was like the most interesting thing that you learned out of the event about a use case or a thing that's like just a no-brainer, every team should be thinking about it and doing it?
So I'd say those are two different questions. So what's like the no-brainer and then what's the most interesting? The no-brainer use cases are like, you should definitely have your CRM enriched with AI workflows. Every account in your CRM should have the obvious data points that we've always been doing, like number of employees and industry and whether it's B2B or B2C, like kind of normal stuff. But then you should take it a level further and like go build very specific AI workflows that are important to your market that like traditionally I would have like built out like a spec and had a virtual assistant go do research. So it's like, I want you to tell me, I used to sell e-com software. So it's like, tell me how many products are on this e-com website. Are they selling on eBay and Amazon and directly on their website? What shopping cart do they use? So it's like, now you can build, instead of sending that spec to a virtual assistant to go get those data points over the next 2 weeks, you can put that into wherever you want, whatever agent you're using, and orchestrate that. An E10 or Clay, some sort of combination of things, direct scrapers. And then you have all of this stuff to build this tiering that, again, you can use like AI to generate a very basic model that's totally transparent. And now every account in your CRM is marked as high fit, medium fit, low fit, or unqualified. And anytime you upload an account, it pulls into this workflow, and 24 hours later, that account is enriched and tiered. And that is like just a very magical thing when you see it for the first time, where you're like, I know we should be doing that, but we're probably not. And like, this is very possible today. So everybody should be doing that for sure.
I like that one. Can I add something? So
Please.
We use Clarify. So I'm not shilling here, I promise. We literally use Clarify.
Yeah.
And one of the automations that we built is we do a weekly pipeline review, me and my salesperson. And we have this view that just like, here are the deals that we're working and that are close to, being done. And we built an AI field that literally just says, what is the next action?
Yep.
And you just hit that, and it just like looks at what's happening in the deal and just gives the next action. I'm like, great. We don't have to go line by line. We already know. We can just look at it for, 2 minutes, and we're like, okay, let's move to the next thing. Such a simple use case, but it's so helpful. It is amazing. So I love this idea from you. Like, there's some no-brainer things that you can do in your CRM. And I'm sure, Austin, you have tons of thoughts on this as well. But I want to get to the second point. We'll come back to you, Austin. So, Brendan, what was the most interesting piece? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think the most interesting thing that I'm seeing, and we had two presentations on this, was sort of like what I think in 12 months is going to be like the main thing that people are doing in go-to-market, which is building their own agents in-house. Maybe there's some combination of like third-party tooling, but then also like, I think at least again, in my little world, like lots of people that are using Clay are now using Claude Code or Cursor, myself included. And so it's like, okay, if that's like what's starting to happen, to me, there's just like a 2x2 matrix, and like Clay is very flexible and powerful, but the thing, and N8N and Make are even more flexible and powerful and harder to use. But the thing that's even further up in that quadrant that's the most flexible and the hardest to use is hand coding something. And so I think that's just like an interesting thing to be able to say, okay, as we get into this world where like data becomes more and more commoditized, what you do with the data actually becomes the secret sauce, or what data you can get access to that other people can't becomes the secret sauce. That's where I think you need these really custom tools and literally tool calling, MCP, like there's going to be this weird toolkit that emerges. And so I think the people that are like on the bleeding edge, tinkering with this stuff, that's where I'm seeing them go, which is super fun.
Are you a developer, Brendan, by trade or training or anything, or did you just pick up Claude and Cursor?
I can't write a line of code. I don't know how to code
right,
at
so
all.
you're just tinkering in those systems, even just without having that background.
Correct. Yeah.
Austin, all yours. What do you think about all this?
Well, first of all, Brendan, I'm really pissed now that I couldn't get my Wi-Fi to work on the plane. So you need to, if there's a way for people to access some of the content afterwards, you have to let us know.
So I'm doing 6 summaries on it. So if you subscribe to the Signal, each of the sessions, I'm doing a summary and the 20-minute talk. So you'll get it in your inbox if you're subscribed.
Great. I am subscribed. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I mean, the thing that strikes me the most is your comment about Cursor. I've like long said that the most powerful version of like a go-to-market operator or a marketing operator is somebody who knows how to code. Not because I'm trying to put engineers on a pedestal, but Clay invented this term called GTM engineer. And to be frank, like a lot of GTM engineers are not real engineers. That doesn't mean they're not great at their jobs, and it doesn't mean that they're not really powerful. It's just that an engineer gets paid a lot of money and creates stuff for a reason because it's really hard to with code. But that also doesn't mean that you can't learn enough programming knowledge to be dangerous. And that's certainly been like the story of my own life and career is I programmed with like R and I like learned how to write Ruby so I can run a script in grad school to like munge data. But that kind of leads you down this pathway where then you're like, oh, well, I wonder how HTML works. And I wonder how JavaScript works. And wonder how Python works. And then you're reading docs. And before you know it, you're not a full engineer, but like you can be pretty dangerous. And I think like that's the thing that I always tell folks that are coming out of sales, going into RevOps or RevTech, and folks coming out of marketing, trying to get into MarTech or MarOps is like the more you can learn about how programming works, even if you're not an engineer, the more powerful you'll be because Cursor is only getting easier and easier to use. And like if you understand basic object orientation and like how an SDK works or how an API works and you can read the docs, Cursor can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And I think like I see the exact same thing happening in go-to-market that's happening with like Lovable and Replit and all these vibe coding solutions. Like the more you can kind of understand about how programming works, the more advanced the tool you can use and the more advanced of an outcome you can create. I'm so aligned with you in that Clay is really powerful and flexible, and AN is an even more powerful flexible. Even Zapier is like pretty effing powerful and flexible these days. But the more you understand how programming works, the more dangerous you can be across like all those levels. So it's like in your best interest that if you want to level yourself up, yes, learn these tools. Yes, learn go-to-market strategy. But I personally think the number one thing you can do for your career is still like go take a programming class to understand how object orientation works. Because you can literally just like talk to Cursor and it will code for you.
Which, by the way, I've always been like, oh, I should learn how to code, and I never have. And now that I'm being pulled into Lovable and Claude Code, I'm like, oh, actually, like I am starting to learn like what are the coding languages and how do I actually do some of this stuff and how do I troubleshoot? Because like there's an error and I click like fix the error and it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, I should probably know how to use this. So it like paradoxically, I am actually pulled more into learning how to code right now, even though it's like anyone can code. It's like, well, that's definitely not true. In the same way that like a GTM engineer still needs to know the fundamentals of sales and like have good sales acumen because that foundation is what's going to scale. And if they have a bad foundation or no foundation, then like you're going to scale bad information.
You know what's really interesting about this whole topic is we always hear the words, we are democratizing blah, 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 blah. And it's like you're seeing it in action with this whole domain that's actually happening. That's actually happening with what these, cursors and these IDs and Claude Code and all the AI tools are making happen. So learning anything new is going to be, if you have the agency and the will, is going to be much, much easier. Okay, I am going to, Brennan, any closing thoughts on, so everybody go to thesignal.club. Anything else that you want to call out from the event that stood out to you?
Yeah, I'll call out two more quick things, just rapid fire. I think, so CRM, sorting the world in the CRM, that was one of the talks. Infrastructure for agentic GTM, that was another talk. How to actually get an agent deployed into your GTM system. Viewpoint on AI-generated outbound email copy, which I think has changed. How to automate signals that actually work in your specific market. And then Kyle Norton did a session, CRO owner did a session on a revenue leader's AI transformation roadmap, which is super good. He's a legend, so that one was super good. The last thing I'll say is like, I think that I feel I'm spending like, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 hours a week, like tinkering with AI, learning about AI, just building stuff just because like I want to learn about it. It feels like a good amount of time. And I feel very behind. I feel like very silly for even having like an AI GTM summit. I'm like, I'm definitely an imposter. Like, I don't know anything. And like I said that to Kyle and he was like, oh, I feel super behind. I'm like, what? You're like so far ahead. I think everybody feels really far behind. And so I think that's like, I hope that's a good signal that like we're still very early here, actually. And then the last thing I'll close on is, I didn't realize this, but after the event, I heard a lot of people messaging me, and it was a very personal message of like, you're helping me learn. And it didn't really dawn on me that like a lot of the people that registered were using their Gmails, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't want to make my company better per se. I want to figure out how to use this new skill set. And I very much so think it's like a new skill set. Like I have reskilled myself in a way in the last 12 months that I haven't since I first entered the workforce in 10 years. Like the learning curve is so incredibly steep. I still feel really far behind. And so I think that's the other thing is there's going to be, again, I'm very AI pilled, but I think there's going to be like a real bifurcation of talent of people that are AI native versus people that are not, at least in B2B SaaS go to market. And I'm starting to see it where it's like the SDR leader who's like, I don't want to learn that new tool, or my outreach sequences are good enough. It's like, I don't really want to spend time prompting and giving better examples for our email prompts. That person, their playbook doesn't work anymore. And the VP of sales who's like leaning in and she's like, okay, I want to use these new tools. She's getting her hands dirty. That person just has insane leverage. And I'm seeing it with people who are like, growing in their career faster because of it. And I think this is going to accelerate over the next 12 to 24 months.
Definitely.
So that's another
Definitely.
big takeaway for me.
Oh my gosh.
Couldn't agree
So
more.
spot on. So spot on.
All right, so it's time. It is time for our another breaking news.
Can we just
Zoominfo?
Okay,
Go
before
ahead.
you start, okay, Pranav, first of all, you can't just start introducing sounds without telling people you're introducing sounds.
No,
Like,
please do.
That's
This
the
is
whole
like
point. That's
it's
the
like-
whole point.
That's the shtick.
That's the
Just
whole
keep doing
point.
it. It's the best.
Okay, so in other news, we're using sounds now. Now you can continue with your spiel.
Drum roll, please. We're using sound.
Exactly. All right, we'll do it again. Zoominfo is suing Apollo. So
I'm
apparently
here
this
for it.
happened.
I'm so here for
and
it.
there's some tea in B2B SaaS. Actually, Austin, you alerted me to this on Slack. Do you want to just talk about what's happening here? I think you read into it and like, what the heck is this whole deal about? Like, what's the big deal?
Oh, yeah. And first of all, like I'll say this in the nicest way possible. Like Zoominfo is one of those companies that I feel like a lot of people begrudgingly pay. You're like, do I really have to talk to 7 salespeople to like sign this $500,000 contract? Having said all that, there's a reason why they're around. They've done a great job of providing world-class data for a long time. My experience over the last handful of, engagements with them has been there's like more salespeople in the room than we have on our entire team, and you're like, okay, this is excessive. So I'm kind of laughing to myself because it feels like a little bit of like the prairie animal trapped in the desert and is threatening Apollo, and the TLDR around it is, Zoominfo is suing Apollo for this very specific piece of the engagement process. So like, I went on a deep dive and like read the suit against them. And by read, I read like the last 5 pages and had Claude help me with the rest of it. But
Nice.
but like the TLDR is like, there's this mechanism by which they create something called a like it's like kind of like a numerical table. I'm forgetting the exact name in computer science. I read about it earlier, but imagine you have a table and you have a company and you have a bunch of attributes about that company, and you basically take all those attributes and you create a numerical string out of it. So you have like company name, location, attribute 1, attribute 2, 3, 4, 5. You make a numerical string. And then you do this for all companies and all people. And you're able to then learn and compare these numbers, which actually represent really complex values. And this is a pretty common, numerical methodology you can do. The thing that Zoominfo is claiming is like, hey, we invented this method of creating tables with numbers and comparing them, which is just like patently hilarious because like this predates even Zoominfo. The thing that they're trying to say though is like, hey, we created this engagement methodology, and Apollo, you guys as a data provider are copying us, but it's such a bad form thing to do because they're basically screwing themselves. Apollo is also an engagement tool, so they have the ability to like send email and engage with the user. And Zoominfo is claiming, hey, like invented this novel way for finding engagement, when in fact Apollo has much richer first-party data about actual engagement, because they can look across an attribute. They can look at, you say, Paramark and see all the company attributes, but they can also say, hey, Pranav sent 100 emails to 50 different people, and out of those companies, 10 of them responded, and we know the messages that they sent, and we know the qualities of those messages. So Apollo actually has much richer data than even Zoominfo has. So
Right.
I think this is a totally frivolous case. And I think it's like Zoominfo reaching for threads to kind of defend themselves against the multiple threats they're seeing across many different data providers. So I laughed when I saw this, and I'm not sure what you guys thought, but that was my initial take.
I'll tell you, I'm still like surprised that Apollo is still banned on LinkedIn, or like whatever their company handle isn't like allowed to do shit on LinkedIn. I'm like, what? Like, why is this such a thing? Like, why is all of this a big deal? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, and including this deal, it makes no sense to me that web crawling to collecting, B2B data, or comparing target accounts to, find lookalikes, like all of this is like, you can't have patents on this stuff. And if you can, if Zoominfo does win this case, it just shows you that IP law has gone completely haywire in this country. I don't know.
I mean,
That's my take. Brendan,
there's
what do you think?
no
Yeah.
way, there's no way they're gonna win a case for just creating a feature matrix. Like, if that happens, I will be shocked.
Not happening. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know the details. I didn't know it's like over a feature matrix. Claude is telling me it's for suing over web crawling for lead gen and engagement recommendations, and predictive analytics for lead gen and engagement recommendations.
But
Maybe
yeah,
that's
that's what it is. Is like in the legal doc, basically they're saying, hey, they're creating a feature matrix, and a feature matrix is just that table where you take all the stuff you got from web crawling and make imagine a giant ass Excel row, and then you make that a numerical data set, and then you compare numbers against companies to like find the person to engage. And that's different from a lookalike audience, where a lookalike audience is you give it a bunch of people and it will find exact matches in like a very similar way. This is actually saying, hey, let's like make a number out of a bunch of attributes and then try to like rank engagement across these numbers, which again, I don't know how that could be proprietary. And also Apollo's probably just
It's
gonna be
just
like,
math. It is literally just math. Like
Yeah.
this type of stuff happens in any type of ML.
And it was upheld in court?
No, it's going to trial.
Oh, it's going to trial.
Yeah, it's going to trial. But it's like I don't think it's worth it. So we'll follow this case. We'll see what happens. But the judge isn't throwing it out. Apparently, the judge is like, no, let's go to trial.
This gets to the bigger, like, does the judge even know what? Not like,
No,
again,
of
not
course
like
not.
bashing our judicial system, but this is part of the problem: is that judges are often not like the best educated people to make these decisions. They're highly educated, but like not in the discipline of choice. Like, should this? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I almost feel like a machine learning expert should probably be the one weighing in, not a judicial review. But
Yep.
I think like the meta point too is, and like I don't know anything. I worked at Apollo full time for a little bit a couple years ago, and Henry Schuck was an investor in my last company, so like I know these folks, but like I don't know anything about this suit. I would say like the meta point is like the question of data is very interesting. I think and like specifically around LinkedIn is like what happens. Like you can go right now on Operator, ChatGPT's Operator, and like you can say, go to my LinkedIn and tell me the titles of these 30 people. And you can go get a coffee, and 8 minutes later, and it'll say, it can't do it. And then it'll say, well, if you log in, and in your browser, it'll pull up your LinkedIn, and you can sign in, and then the agent will be able to go into and it's your LinkedIn in browser, and it'll go to the first person, and it'll go grab their title and put it in the spreadsheet. Then it'll go to the second person. So it's like, is that me or is that a bot? Like these lines are going to get blurry quick, and it takes 8 minutes to do 20 rows or whatever. It's slow right now, but like that's going to be solved in 12 months. So what does that look like? And so I don't know. It's like there's like just a world that I can't really imagine. But if I like squint, it's like I think all data is like just fully commoditized, literally, and then like basic data. And then the other class of data is your own first party data, which obviously nobody else has. And or some other third party data that like you could get for free, but what you do with it is really interesting. So like job descriptions is public data. Anybody can get it. It's commoditized. It's basically free. But what you do with it can be really interesting. And like, I'm a fan of this company called Sumble, and they're productizing this, and a lot of companies are doing this now with like job descriptions. It's like you can infer really interesting things based on a job description. What project do they have coming up based on who they're hiring and what they're saying in it? Or, obviously tech stack data is, we use tools including these, now you know their exact tech stack. So I just think like the data piece is the really interesting thing of like, who owns that data? Is it LinkedIn? Is it not? Who can go get it? What happens if you put it in a database? Is my agent me, or is my agent not me? I don't know. It's like, it's going to be crazy to see.
Brendan, you used the word operator, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. I have completely forgotten about operator. I don't know if that's true for you, Austin, but like, I don't even think about it. Yeah, right? Like, are you using it a lot, Brendan?
No. I tinkered around with it a couple times. Same thing with like, I forget what the Daily Digest thing was. I remember Sam tweeting about it.
Pulse,
and it was like,
Pulse is gone.
Yeah, this is going to be a big thing. I was like,
it.
oh, this seems awesome. Clay just launched in the ChatGPT store. I was texting a buddy yesterday. I was like, this is either going to be like the biggest next growth curve for them, or no one's going to talk about it a year from now. I think it's like they're making all these big bets. I think it's super interesting.
On that note,
Adobe. Oh my gosh.
We're going to go straight into
about Adobe CDP the other day. A LinkedIn
all right,
feud.
Let's listen to this ad, and then I want to hear your reaction. Let's keep talking about the ChatGPT apps thing. So
I'm so excited for this.
Make it pop. All right, you get the point.
This music is crazy. I feel like I'm at a circus.
Okay, that was a nice little ad for Adobe. But yeah, like you said, Brendan, like ChatGPT apps are now live. And I saw like all over my feed, right? So we had Hex, we had Clay, we had Figma, we had Adobe. I chose Adobe because I actually thought that they did a pretty good job of describing the concept better than the others. They know how to do marketing and ads. And the thing that's like, I was confused about, why would I ever use these apps inside of ChatGPT? Like, I am in, Google Sheets and using the default like Gemini features within Google Sheet now a lot. I'm using Hex's AI agent a lot. I'm a Hex user, right? So like it's in Hex and I'm like a power user, so I can just do it in there. I don't even think about using ChatGPT as my UI interface for interacting with these apps, but I'm curious, like, what do the two of you think? And maybe Austin, you go first, and then Brendan, let's come to you after that.
Well, first of all, I like how Adobe missed probably like the most important and powerful use case ever, which is filling in PDFs for me. Like, I don't know how they missed that use case. Like, if I could upload a contract or a doc and say, fill in and sign this for me, I would use that every single day. Like, the number of times you have to spend like at least 7 minutes filling in a contract with like basic information or like, so I don't know how they missed that. And also I couldn't help but think that, if you think about Photoshop, for example, very old technology that has been updated over the years and is super powerful, but do you really need the power of Photoshop anymore when AI can make all the adjustments for you? So I don't know. The whole time I was watching it where you can upload and use Photoshop Express or whatever, I'm like, well, there are a lot of new tools emerging where you do the exact same thing and you don't even need any of those controls because AI is so good at making the adjustments you want. So I can see it being really powerful if you're one of the people who was accustomed to having the manual workflow And then you just want to have AI on top, but you still want to be able to change things manually. But I think for the vast majority of other people, if I have a photo and I'm trying to get rid of a background, I will just literally go Google AI remove background. And there's like 12 tools that pop up that will help me remove a background.
You can do it in Figma, Austin. You can do it in Figma now.
Well, yeah, but the point is, like, I don't even need to use Figma. There's literally 12 other tools.
True.
So
You just go to Nano
Adobe is
Banana
not,
and it'll just do it for you.
yeah,
Will do
they're
it.
competing against like every AI platform. So I personally think Adobe's in a lot of trouble. That's just my 2 cents.
All right, Adobe. There, you have some work to do. Brendan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's weird, and that grabs my attention. Like, I think the weirdness to it, where it's like I can't really grapple with why you need it, is like an interesting clue. I think I thought a little bit about this. So why would you want to do something in ChatGPT? So there's like kind of 2, maybe 3 real use cases. One, I think, is like you want to talk to data, or you want to do something just with natural language or super whisper into your ChatGPT app. So I don't want to go to Photoshop. I don't want to tweak the different toggles. I just in ChatGPT want to say, make this image look more poppy or whatever. And I want it to do it. Or, hey, Clay, give me a list of VPs of marketing in, San Francisco. I'm doing an event. Give me a spreadsheet of those. And I just talk to it. And then I say, okay, give me only ones at companies where they have 100 plus employees. That's pretty cool to be able to just like conversationally talk to a thing, and it does the tool call for me. And then it uses the power of that product in the background, which, by the way, you have to authenticate into Clay to use the app, like the chat app. I did not really realize this. I was trying to like at Clay, and then I was like, oh, right. I have to like actually put the application into my ChatGPT. And then I was like, oh, now it knows, like it can actually talk to my instance of Clay.
It's almost like operator, but just a more powerful operator and like a little bit more better UI for an operator. No?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. Maybe I think the second piece is like, why would you want to do it in ChatGPT instead of just going directly to the place?
Yeah.
Like if you're in Google Sheets, what you'll find is, at least I was playing around with it a little bit yesterday. I would ask it a question. So go do this thing in Clay. And then it would say, so go enrich this list of attendees is what I was doing. And it would ask me, hey, do you want to use this other data? I assume this is for the event that you did this week. Do you want me to include this? So ChatGPT has all of my context, which if you go in your memory or Claude, you can go look at the memory and like literally it shows this is the stuff stored that I know about Brendan specifically. So it has all of that context. So if you're just in Google Sheets doing a thing, Google Sheets doesn't have all of that really rich context about me. So I think it's actually the beginning of like marrying the context about me as like a business and a person with the tool call and the job to be done. And I don't know where that goes exactly, but that does feel like a new paradigm that has literally never existed, which other than like literally in our brain. Like when you're in Google Sheets, you have that context in your brain.
You've convinced me.
But ChatGPT has all of that stored and actually is like, don't you want to have this data point in there? And I'm like, you're right. I do want to have that data point. Please include that in this thing that in this infographic that I'm building in Claude to show the engagement of the event or whatever, So I think that's like the bull case for it.
I like that. Yeah, I mean,
this brings up like a really interesting problem, which is like there's universal context, which is like everything about Brendan that I want every single chat across every platform to have. And then there's local context, so like global and local context. And I feel like we've figured out local context pretty well. You have a project in Claude or GPT, and you can write stuff and upload files, and you can start to build like a local optimum for the project you're working on. But we have not figured out the global context of like, there's just stuff from my sales calls, from my consulting calls, from writing, from all this other stuff that I want to have embedded into like every conversation that I have so that the output is more unique to me. And there is currently no good way to capture global context unless you like build your own library and remember to update it and then also push it across all these different GPT portals. And that is the thing that I'm like waiting for, is some platform to universalize prompt context so that you can use any one of these tools and it can instantly help you copy and paste it in. Like right now, I'm doing that literally in Notes. I have like my own universal prompt that I use pretty often. and I have some versions of local prompts, if I'm working on projects across Claude and GPT, it's really hard to move from that context to the next without copying somehow. So I just use markdown files for it. But it's such a pain in the ass.
So you would want you could API call recording transcripts into ChatGPT.
Well,
What else would you want, or Claude?
Well, it depends, right? So there's information from call recording that I think is universal, like who I am, what I'm working on, the pitch I've given 1,000 times to somebody about what I care about. It's like, I'm Brendan Short. I'm Write the Signal. We have this many users. I talk about it on X, Y, and Z channel. But then the local context is, for this specific call, how did I pitch this person, or what was the deal or the arrangement moving forward? That should always be local. But I mean, we even talked about this with the CRM earlier. Like, CRMs are being great right now at consolidating sales context or engagement context, but it's missing context from other channels. Like I use Granola in addition to Clarify. And even though Clarify has a local recording, I use Granola sometimes for personal calls. That's all part of like my global persona. So I think what I'm saying is, like, there needs to be a universal repository of information about you, about your work. And then needs to be local context or local kind of hills that you can push context into that then can be shared across every GPT. And then I think the last layer, to your point, Pranav, is like, which tool you use to solve the job is a function of probably your history of using the tool and what you found, right? Like, if you can remove a background by using Figma or Adobe or 12 other tools on the internet, I think then it really just comes down to like, what is the easiest thing for you? Oh my God.
I was playing around with it, so that's my bad. All right.
Such a good point.
I was preparing. This is Riverside feedback. It just like did not do the right thing that I thought it would do.
I thought you were excited. It's a bummer.
I was excited, but I was excited about a different thing. So we're just gonna segue into what I was excited about. So I'm just gonna play it now. We hit 10 episodes, Austin.
Woo!
Episode 10 of GTMN before the close of the year, and
one guest. One guest and
one guest.
Marketing advertisement.
Exactly. So it's going to be a fantastic 2026. I was conscious of time. I want to bring this to a close. I also want to thank you, Brendan, for being on the show. It was a lot of fun. We're going to collaborate more with the signal.club. I'm just saying it, just making shit up as we go.
I'm in.
There you go.
And,
are you doing
thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
For people who've never like worked with Brendan, so we got to work with Brendan the first time when we were at Clarify, and he's just fucking awesome. So like, we said no shills, but I get to shill you because I'm not, I have no stake in this. So a little bit of shilling is fine. You should definitely check out the Signal, and if you're in go-to-market or go-to-market tech, you should like try to have a conversation with Brendan because he's a G.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. It's very kind. Thanks for having me. I feel honored to be the first guest, and hopefully we can do it again. This was fun. You guys are awesome.
Amazing. Well, happy holidays, everybody, and we'll see you on the other side. No shows for the next couple of weeks, and we'll be back in the first week of Jan.